What is good, family? This is your girl, Courtney Michelle, the Renaissance Belle. And of course, I am digging deeper a little bit with an awesome guest. As you can see, I have comedian RonG. I'll let you talk about yourself a little bit, but I do want to say how dope he is. Emmy Award winner, was in on Insecure. Key and Peele had his own show on Nickelodeon. Do I need to go more?
If you want to.
Okay, all right. So, my God, commercials that you did during the Super Bowl. So, like I said, I'm an absolute fan, so I'm super excited. But no, tell us a little bit more about you, even like where you're from. Things like
Hilarious. I was born in Columbia, South Carolina. Went to the University of South Carolina. Moved to Atlanta, kind of figured my life out. Been in LA for a long time, and yeah, I do cool stuff for a living. A lot of travel, host TV shows. Like you said, Emmy Award winner. I was a finalist on Last Comic Standing. I've been all around the world twice, and yeah, been married for 2 years, and I live a good
yeah,
life. I live a great life.
that is awesome. So, randomly, like I've been following you as far as your career, and you was my MySpace friend.
I remember that. I
It's
remember
so
that.
random. I don't know how that
Hilarious.
happened, but you used to be my top eight.
Hold on. I'm thinking Facebook. You said MySpace.
I
My
said
God, it's been
MySpace.
that long?
Now look, I'm 21, so we
MySpace. Jesus. Okay. Yeah. That feel like a curse word. The fact you brought up MySpace. Are we saying MySpace? Are we okay to say that?
I know, right? Oh, okay. We'll shut that up.
MySpace is such a dirty word.
Well, it shows our age, so that's
I
fine.
mean, you probably got a Hotmail account too, or Yahoo or something
I
like
had
that.
an AOL.
Get grown. Grown.
Okay,
That's at
that's
least over 35. Over 35 is Yahoo and Hotmail.
okay. I'm 21. So I wanted to bring you on the show because, like I said, I've followed your career. You've been very, you inspired me a lot just because of your image. You've been able to maneuver this Hollywood scene, this comedic scene, and kept a pretty prestige, clean image. And
Kept my nose clean is what you're saying. I get it.
yeah, I ain't never, you ain't been on Gossip or the Shade Room.
Hilarious.
So I really appreciate that. So I'm trying to figure out, how did you do it? And was that something that you started with where it was like, I'm going to step out, have this platform, but I want to make sure that my image is intact?
I don't think I had that in mind when I first started. All I know is like I had a strong conversation with God, and God was like, "Look, you're gonna change this planet, you're gonna change this Earth, and your path gonna be a little different. It's gonna be very uncomfortable, and you're not gonna fit in."
Mhm.
And luckily, He didn't give me all the details before I started doing what I'm doing, because I probably would have ran and been a hilarious school teacher. But I said yes to my dream, and literally, we're having this conversation because I said yes to my dream. All the other stuff came from a byproduct of me being a student of life, and also God touching my heart. And I was like, you know what? There's legacy attached to what I'm doing, and I don't want to mess it up, and I don't want God to look bad. So I feel like He's kind of kept me and also allowed me to go down a different path than most. And it doesn't feel comfortable because it's not popular, but
Mhm.
also know that again, my legacy is much bigger than who I think I am. Even with the whole relationship stuff, like if anybody on here follows me, I do a lot of relationship stuff, and I always had a passion for it. But some about quarantine that happened and being married changed my voice to where I felt like my wife was the stamp and my validation for the things I talk about in a relationship. Because her and I, we have a relationship where we're very, very vulnerable, and we
Mhm.
talk about the ugly of our relationship. And I feel like as a couple, I'm probably gonna go real deep, real fast. But the closer and the sooner two couples get to the point of saying the things that they really want to say and the version that they should
Mhm.
say, the faster you get to that point, that the more mature and the more love you have in your relationship. Because if y'all ain't telling truth and saying how you really feel and y'all BSing, you ain't never getting that real version of your person. But me and my lady, we talk the way we talk. Like the way I talk around my homies, I talk to my wife like that. And she does the same thing for me. So we resolve the issue faster. And we have more time to like love on each other than sitting here being aggressively passive. And, people be doing all that slick
Yeah.
stuff, trying to get their point across instead of just saying how you feel.
Yeah, I understand that. And definitely we're going to talk about that in marriage.
Definitely long answer, but that's how I got to it.
Yeah, because I feel like we're kind of in a stage right now where a lot of people are, and men maybe are scared of marriage, see it as a hindrance
Are
than
they really though? Are
something.
they really though?
Yeah, but the spaces I in, they don't like it. But
I disagree,
I,
but okay.
oh, you want to go there now?
We can.
Let's go. Okay.
I
Well, those will talk
believe.
about your image, but let's talk about relationships because this is why I say this. There is a whole group of men called MGTOW,
What's
men
that?
going their own way.
Hmm.
And they are saying, forget marriage. Marriage is, because women are 80% likely to file for divorce and likely to take the kids, likely to take the house. They're like, why get married when the likelihood of our marriage sustaining is slim? So to those men, and you've been married and you chose to be married, especially
Hmm.
in the industry that you are in,
Hmm.
what would you say to them?
I would say they shouldn't be a part of the conversation because the goal is to find a man who wants to be married.
Okay.
If they don't want to be married, then why are you in their space? Because if your goal is to be married and you're dating men who don't want to be married, then who's really at fault? So for the men that don't want to be married, there's nothing wrong with it. Because I know a lot of women who don't want to be married too, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But when that legacy clock starts ticking, and
Mhm.
you think you collecting all these assets and these toys, like who do you give the toys to when you're gone? Are you just going to spend your time here just for you? So again, as a woman, you have the power and ability and authority of your heart and of who you are to say, this is what I need to feel loved. And once you say, this is what I need to feel loved, and he says, I'm not looking to get married, that's your answer. So we shouldn't even be talking about these guys. I mean, I get that's a part of the conversation, but
Yeah.
you have all the power to walk away because, again, you have full authority over your life and your heart and what you want for yourself.
Well, with majority of women wanting to be married, and even men, I think majority want to be married. And so the MGTOW is like a subsection of men, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have women that want to be married, men want to be married, but
Mm-hmm.
we ain't getting married.
Right.
Why? Why do you?
Um, I don't have an honest answer, but I do believe we have a lot of generational trauma on both
Mhm.
sides, and it's easier to blame other people than take responsibility for yourself. Like when I hear women talk about there's a bunch of F boys out here, and I'm like, okay, so let me get this right. You calling him an F boy? He eat McDonald's every day. He live with his mama, and he doesn't have a car. And you get pregnant by him, and now you're mad at him, calling him an F boy,
Mhm.
even though you have a master's degree and you have God-like discernment, but you ran all those red lights, got pregnant by him, and now you're mad at him.
Mm.
Does an F boy really matter at that point? Because you were getting something out of the deal, you just don't want to admit it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But I think it's all about finding somebody who wants to be married and have what you want. Because part of that trauma I mentioned, you have to work on yourself. For me, I know I've always been a husband, but my problem was, what do you do in the meantime until you find your person? For me, that's been the hardest part about the dating process. Like I knew I was always a husband. I know that in order for me to go where I'm supposed to go in my career, I
Mhm.
had to be married, and I had to be specifically married to my wife because my wife is dope, and I know that she is the answer to all my blind spots and the things that the parts of me that I didn't even know I had. But when I met her, I'm like, oh, I need to work on this because by nature I'm a fixer. I've always been a fixer because of my childhood. Because my childhood junk, I've always been mama's little man, and if I don't fix it, then who will? It'll fall apart. But then I got older and I realized like I shouldn't be fixing. Let me get her in my tool belt and find somebody who just want to be a partner and do life with. And when I met my wife, I realized I was the one who needed fixing, but I never knew that until I met her. So for those of you who want to get married, find somebody who wants to be married, go to therapy and study yourself and learn what you need. Because once I met her, I was in a space where my heart was open and I unpacked all my junk because from my previous, I had a real bad breakup. And as
Mhm.
much as I want to blame her, I really
Yeah.
should blame myself. I blame myself because I was the one who committed to the person who showed me that I wasn't lovable. And I was sitting in church one day while I was dealing with my breakup,
That's
and my
deep, Ron.
and my pastor sat out. My pastor, he had a sermon, and I felt like when he was speaking to me, everybody in the church just disappeared, and he was speaking directly to me. And he said,
Yeah.
"What's broken in you that make you commit to somebody who reminds you that you're not lovable?
Mm.
What's broken in you that make you commit to somebody that reminds you that you're not lovable?" And I was like, as much as I want to be mad at her, I got every red flag I need. I got every shade of red I wanted, and I ran every red light trying to make this thing right and prove this thing to myself and people who didn't care.
Yeah.
And once I got rid of that toolbox and I forgave myself, which I felt like was the
Not
hardest
the
part of the breakup,
toolbox.
I got rid of my toolbox because I was a fixer. But once I
Yeah.
got rid of my toolbox and I had my funeral, because when you break up with somebody that hurt you, you got to have your funeral and know
It's
that it's never
important.
going to happen again. If that door is still open, you still feel like there's a look, you can't heal. You can't heal
Mhm.
while that person's still in your space calling or whatever you're doing. But once I had my funeral and I made peace with myself on what made me step outside of I'm gonna say my real nigga self. There's a part of me like a real nigga, like, man, what you doing? You stupid. I stepped outside of that to love on somebody, and I got my feelings hurt, and I wound up in therapy. So once I resolved that with myself, then I knew I was in the space to get married. And I met my wife. I wasn't 100% perfect, but I was aware of where I was. I had a map, and I took inventory of where I was. So when I met her, I still had some residual junk. And she reminded me, like, look, that ain't none of my business. That's you right there. You need to fix that. And I was like, you know what? Touche. I'm gonna work on that. And I went to therapy. And honestly, it's scary because my marriage is the best relationship I've ever been in. My wife is the best relationship I've ever been in. So as much as we should have relationship resume, like this one was the one. But I was prepared. But it's also scary to like let your marriage be the first one.
Well, I can understand. Let me ask you this, because you talk about therapy, and I'm one that had to go through therapy as well because I had a lot of stuff to work on. And accountability is always important to me, and being able to be honest and transparent and be like, yeah, no, I effed it up. So tell me about, why did you decide, Ron, why did you decide to even think that, yeah, I do need therapy, and there's something in me that's broken, that's attracting broken people? Like, how did you get that? Because with Black folks, this therapy thing is kind of new to us. We're not just up and going to therapy. What was it about your situation, or what clicked that was like, I need help, I can't do this by myself?
All right. So I never want to talk bad about her, but the math didn't add up. The way I loved her, the way I felt about her did not add up to the energy I got back. And I was like, this don't make sense. And for me, I usually battle depression when my head and my heart are in two different places. Because my head was like, this needs to work. And I feel like the hardest relationships are not the one with the cheating involved. It's where it just doesn't work. Because you have to resolve that in your head and your heart by yourself. And there's no reference point for when it went wrong. All you know is that it doesn't work. So you have to resolve that by yourself. And for me, my heart started to feel sick because my head saw like, we're supposed to work on paper. We make way too much sense. My heart was like, I love this girl past my own understanding. Like I was doing all the stuff that I would nevers. I was doing all my I would nevers, and it still didn't make sense. And my heart got so sick. So even when they're in my space, I didn't feel, I feel like I was drowning in the love that I was created. Because it's crazy. I feel like if you have big dreams and small love, it's suffocating. You ever been with somebody who has small love? There's not enough room in your love to grow inside their love because there's no grace, there's no mercy, there's no let me try to understand his why. There's just you did me wrong and you're at fault. And so for me, I'm a very sensitive person, and I don't always remember what you say. I remember how you make me feel. And that feeling was always, when I was in her space, I never felt like I could let my hair down. And I'm one of those people that I'm a student of life, and I want to learn why I feel the way I do. And when I started going to therapy, I found out that a lot of my relationship stuff was triggered by my childhood stuff. And my childhood stuff, which was unresolved, was, I'm a child of a parent that battled substance abuse. And if you've ever dealt with that before, when your parent is in their zone doing what they do that makes them happy, they usually, I'll say usually, but sometimes they lash out at you and they're like, you're not allowed to have feelings. So they go on with life, having a great day. And as a child, you're holding on to everything that happened like it was your fault. So a part of my thing as an adult is when I don't feel heard, it makes me shut down or have to protect myself. So even with my wife, I'm like, look, you can't yell at me. I tell her, like, you can't yell at me because it's triggering to my childhood. And I said, you can tell me firmly if you need to, or I'm never above correction. But if you speak to me with a kind tone, I will always work on myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's my policy too. Like I don't curse in my comedy. So if I can do it for a living, why would I curse at you and explode on you when I get paid to do this? So I try to be a master of my words and not be mastered by anything. So for me, it was time. It was time. I had to figure out what was going on and why did my heart feel so suffocating. And once I found out why, I was like, wow, there's a lot of what the person brought to me is a reminder of my childhood. And this is not an environment for me where I can grow in. So that was the beginning of me unpacking all my luggage and my carry-on bags. I had my 7 carry-on bags, and I had my little, I checked some stuff too. And I had a carry-on, and I was like, this is way too much. I need to take this cup, Lord. And once I broke up with her and I started making peace with myself, then I started lifting the weight off of myself and all this burden of I feel like I had to fix everything because it's not my job to fix everything. It's my job to partner with somebody while we do life and fix ourselves, but not fix anybody because I'm not God. And God will let you. God is a very jealous God. So when you become God in somebody's life, you can't sustain what you create. If God puts it on their heart to change, go to church, or be soft or whatever, He can sustain it. But if you create it, you got to sustain it. And God is very jealous God, and He took His hands off of it. And I had to go see Him anyway, even though I was running, because I thought I had a magical kind of love and prayer life that can fix all things broken.
Yeah.